The nurse's voice echoed softly through the quiet hospital corridor, but I barely heard it. My hands were trembling, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. I sat alone in the waiting area, staring at the sealed envelope in my hands that contained the test results that could change everything. In that moment, the world felt painfully still, as if time itself had paused to watch my life fall apart. Before we continue this emotional journey, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that sometimes life surprises us when we least expect it. My name is Nathan Carter, and that morning I believed my life was quietly collapsing. 3 weeks earlier, my doctor had ordered a series of tests after I collapsed at work. I was a simple maintenance technician at a small office building in Seattle. I lived alone in a tiny apartment, worked long hours, and tried to ignore the constant fatigue that had been creeping into my life for months. When the doctor mentioned the word serious, it echoed in my mind every night since. Now I sat there in the hospital lobby, clutching the envelope like it contained my fate. The waiting area was nearly empty. A few patients sat scattered across the room, their faces reflecting the same silent anxiety I felt. The smell of antiseptic hung in the air. Outside the tall windows, rain fell steadily over the gray Seattle morning. I wasn't ready to open the envelope, because once I knew the truth, nothing would ever be the same again. That's when something strange happened. The glass doors burst open, and a woman walked in with the kind of presence that made everyone look up. She was tall, elegant, and dressed in a dark navy coat that looked far too expensive for a hospital visit. Her blonde hair was pulled back neatly, and her expression carried the sharp confidence of someone used to being in control. But there was something else on her face: panic. She scanned the room quickly, as if searching for someone. Then, without warning, her eyes landed directly on me. Before I could even process what was happening, she walked straight toward me. My heart skipped a beat as she stopped in front of my chair. And then she said the strangest sentence I had ever heard in my life. "Please, pretend you're my husband." For a moment I thought I had misheard her. But before I could respond, a group of people suddenly entered through the same doors she had just come through. 2 men in suits, a woman with a tablet, and another person holding a camera. They looked intense, professional, and clearly focused on her. That's when I realized who she was. Her name was Victoria Reynolds, the CEO of Reynolds Global Tech, one of the fastest-growing technology companies in America. Her face had appeared in business magazines, news interviews, and billboards across the city, and somehow she was standing in front of me asking me to pretend to be her husband. My brain struggled to process the situation, but before I could say anything, she gently grabbed my hand. Her fingers were cold and trembling. Without warning, she leaned closer and rested her head lightly against my shoulder. The group of people approached us quickly. One of the men in suits spoke first, his voice calm but firm. "Mrs. Reynolds, the board meeting starts in 20 minutes. The investors are already waiting." Victoria didn't move. She kept her head against my shoulder like we were a normal couple sitting together. Then she quietly said something that shocked everyone. "I'm not going to the meeting today. My husband just received medical test results, and I'm staying with him." The man blinked in confusion. "Your husband?" Victoria squeezed my hand slightly. I suddenly realized she was begging me to go along with it. My mind raced. I had no idea why she needed this lie, but something in her expression told me she was desperate. So I nodded slowly. "Yes, we're waiting for the doctor." The group exchanged awkward looks. After a few seconds of uncomfortable silence, they finally stepped aside and began whispering among themselves. Eventually, they left the hospital lobby. The moment the doors closed behind them, Victoria slowly lifted her head from my shoulder. She looked exhausted. "I'm so sorry," she said quietly. "I know that was strange. I didn't even know where to begin." "You're the CEO of a billion-dollar company," I said. "Why did you just tell everyone I'm your husband?" She let out a long breath and sank into the chair beside me. "For the first time in years," she said softly, "I needed a reason to stop." Her words lingered in the air. She explained that for the past decade, her life had been nothing but meetings, pressure, and expectations. Investors demanded results. The board demanded growth. The media demanded perfection. But that morning, she had received a call from her father's doctor. He had suffered a severe stroke during the night. Instead of rushing to see him, the board insisted she attend an emergency meeting with investors. For the first time in her life, she refused, but they followed her here, so she needed a believable reason to walk away. And somehow, she chose me. The quiet maintenance worker sitting alone in a hospital waiting room. For the next hour, we sat there talking like two strangers whose lives had collided by accident. She asked about my job. I told her about fixing elevators, repairing pipes, and living in a tiny apartment with a leaky ceiling. She listened carefully, like no one had listened to me in years. Eventually, the nurse called my name. My stomach tightened as I stood up. Victoria looked at me with genuine concern. "Do you want me to come with you?" she asked. I hesitated. Then I nodded. We walked into the doctor's office together. The doctor opened the envelope and reviewed the results carefully. Every second felt like an eternity. Finally, he looked up with a small smile. The tests were negative. Whatever had caused my collapse wasn't life-threatening. With some treatment and rest, I would recover. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe again. I didn't even realize tears were running down my face. Victoria reached over and squeezed my hand. When we stepped back into the hospital hallway, the rain outside had stopped. Sunlight streamed through the windows. Victoria looked at me with a soft smile. "You know," she said, "you helped me more than you realize today." A week later, something unexpected happened. I received a phone call from her office. Victoria offered me a job managing facility operations for her company's new headquarters. The salary was more than I had ever imagined earning. But more than that, she said something I would never forget. "You reminded me what real life looks like," she told me. "And I want people like you around me." Sometimes life changes in the strangest ways. One moment you're sitting alone, waiting for news that could destroy your future. The next moment, a stranger walks in and rewrites your story. Before we end this story, I have a small request for you. If you're watching right now, comment the word hope below. I'd love to see how many people still believe that life can surprise us with unexpected kindness. And if this story touched your heart even a little, please like this video, share it with someone who might need encouragement today, and subscribe for more emotional stories like this, because sometimes the most powerful moments in life happen when two strangers cross paths at exactly the right time.